Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Power Core Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Ron Harrington, back to hit you with another video. And today, we're going to be continuing Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Part 2. As always, if you're a fan of today's video and everything else that we have on the channel, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Where we last left off in our story, Naruto and the Ninja Storm Rangers were able to successfully save Gaara from the Akatsuki during the events of the Kazekage rescue mission. With Naruto in his newly found powers as he returns back to Konoha and the upcoming mission at Tenchi Bridge is underway, how will the Power Rangers effect take hold over the ninja world? And how will this affect the decisions of the Akatsuki, as now a new group of heroes rise that can rival them in power? How will Sasuke be affected in his hero's journey as he seeks the vengeance of his brother? For all this and more, let's get into today's video. So, as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Naruto will return back to the Hidden Leaf, with Kakashi, Sakura, and Cam. The four of them making their way back into Konoha. For Naruto, this being the first time in over 2.5 years, as from the ending of his training with the other Rangers, he immediately had gone out on his first mission, that being to the sand to rescue Gaara from the Akatsuki. As he arrived in the village, he would see many old faces, including Konohamaru, greeting him as they made their way to the Hokage's tower. Naruto meeting Lady Tsunade for the first time in a while. Tsunade was pleased to see Naruto had grown so much, and to see that they had had a successful mission. After giving their report, they would give her the news of Tenchi Bridge. With the information now in her possession, and with confirmation that Orochimaru's spy could potentially be there, this now left her with much to ponder. Although, only having 7 days to put together a team to go, it was already clear that Team 7 wanted to be the ones to take the mission. But there was this newcomer that also wished to accompany them, the boy named Cam. Tsunade was familiar with the boy, being the grandson of Mifune of the Land of Iron, leader of the samurai clan. So she had good reason to trust him. But she also wanted to know why he wanted to be on this mission. Cam did not mince his words. There was no point in lying or coming up with some artificial reason. It was simple. Orochimaru killed his parents, and as such, he wanted revenge. Vengeance was a tricky subject, but even for Tsunade, for her old comrade in Orochimaru, to see just how low he had fallen, all the lives that he had ruined up until now. Even she had to admit she wanted to see the Snake Sannin dead. She entrusts that Kakashi could keep a rein on things, and Kakashi promised he could do so. He even noted that Naruto and Cam's powers were far greater than anything he could have possibly imagined, and that it would be foolish not to include them in a fight against Orochimaru. Tsunade thought this over, and eventually she agreed, giving the four of them the mission: Naruto, Cam, Sakura, and Kakashi. They were given 2 days to prepare before leaving out. That would give them 5 days to get to Tenchi Bridge in time for the rendezvous. During those 2 days, as Naruto prepared, he would let Cam stay over at his place, sleeping on the couch. Cam now getting a chance to see Konoha for the first time, he actually liked the village a lot. He also got to meet some of Naruto's friends, members known as the Konoha 11. They were all happy to see Naruto again, and many were interested in who Cam was, as they had never met someone from the Land of Iron before, especially someone who was of samurai and shinobi descent. Cam was happy to make friends with them, and before long, he had actually gotten pretty comfortable even for a short stay. But eventually, the time came for the 4-man team to set out. Kakashi was grateful that the team chemistry was going fairly well. Despite Cam being new, he got along with Naruto already fine, the two of them having spent 2.5 years training with one another. And Cam was kind and courteous to Sakura also, taking note of her and her strength. And since Naruto already had teamwork with both he and Sakura, it just meant that the team was able to be cohesive and work perfectly. Kakashi being able to come up with a strategy that would work best and utilize their skills, after taking note of what they were all capable of. Eventually, after 5 days, the time would come for the meeting at Tenchi Bridge. Because Kakashi fought against Sasori personally, using the Sharingan, he was able to get better details of Sasori's movements and his mannerisms, thus creating the perfect clone of himself. Disguising as Sasori, able to mimicking him to the finest of detail, he would make his way to the bridge, while Naruto, Cam, and Sakura stayed behind. The 2 rangers at the ready in case anything bad were to happen. As Kakashi moved on the bridge, he would be greeted by someone in a cloak. For Kakashi, he recognized who this person was, but even he was shocked to see that of all people it was Kabuto, the one of whom was working with Orochimaru, who had been a spy during the events of the Chunin exams in Konoha Crush. All the same, everything was going well, and it seemed as though Kabuto was on their side. That was until it became apparent that this was a double cross, and that Kabuto had actually been a double agent the whole time. It wasn't that he was spying on Orochimaru for Sasori's sake, but Kabuto was actually spying on Sasori and the Akatsuki for Orochimaru's sake. Attacking him, the disguise would become undone, and Orochimaru would be pleased to see that it was Kakashi, the two having a chance to meet once again. He called out the others hiding behind in the forest, and they all jumped out forward beside him. Sakura, Naruto, and Cam. Both Naruto and Cam looking at Orochimaru with a special hostility. Orochimaru smiled, seeing Naruto again after all this time. He started to taunt him, telling that he didn't seem any stronger than he was before. But when he looked at Cam, the boy looked familiar, like they had met before. He asked who he was and where he had come from, since he didn't believe he was of Konoha, and Cam confirmed it, telling him that he was in fact a samurai, and he had come for Orochimaru's life. Without hesitating, Cam would use his green sphere as he transformed and morphed into the green Samurai Ranger, as Naruto transformed into the red Ninja Storm Ranger, as the two of them rushed Orochimaru simultaneously. Kakashi, Sakura, and even Kabuto were shocked by their speed. Orochimaru was almost taken off guard as he had to hold both of their fists as he punched him. He could feel the power emanating from the both of them. This wasn't what he was expecting. 2 Rangers? Here? And of all people, these 2? There was actually a sense of worry on Orochimaru's face, but he didn't have time to process his shock as both Naruto and Cam launched a furious barrage of attacks upon him, Orochimaru being forced to duck and dodge and counter as their fight continued into the forest. The amount of power being emanated and being given off from this battle alone. It didn't even seem like it was a fight amongst shinobi anymore. It was like it was a fight amongst monsters. Cam pulling out his samurai sword and Naruto using his power katana. As the 2 of them fought in unison, Orochimaru had no choice but to summon the Kusanagi sword, as a 2-on-1 sword battle commenced. The 2 of them had become immensely skilled in swordplay, Naruto having been trained by the samurai for over 2.5 years, and being a quick study himself. But it was also the powers of the Power Rangers themselves, the morphing grid, amplifying their strength, like it was coursing through their very veins. Orochimaru could feel that the 2 of them fighting together, they were easily on Jonin level, maybe even Kage, given the right circumstances. As Orochimaru countered them, he would find himself being wore down time and time again, until eventually they caught him off guard, slicing him in half from the waist. Orochimaru had no choice but to reattach himself with his snake summonings as they continued in their battle. Naruto would use the multi-shadow clone jutsu before rushing forward. During Naruto's training for 2.5 years, each ranger was allowed 1 chaperone to stay with them. This chaperone came from their respective villages, a way of ensuring their safety. For Naruto, his chaperone was a shinobi by the name of Yamato. The reason why Yamato was assigned to Naruto in the first place was because he was the only one in the village with wood release, and Naruto being a Jinchuriki, there was the risk that the Nine Tails power might seep out during training. As such, Yamato was there to make sure Naruto stayed under control. Even when Jiraiya would stop by to visit Naruto in the Land of Iron from time to time, to check on his progress as well as teach him a thing or two. They always made sure to keep Yamato present. That way, whenever Naruto tapped into the power of the Nine Tails, and it got too much for him, it wouldn't be overbearing, and he wouldn't cause any harm to himself or others. For all those years of training, Naruto had learned to control the Nine Tails' power to a degree. He could already feel the anger seeping out of him, but self-control was beat into him, Yamato making it a point that if Naruto lost control, he wouldn't just end up losing himself, but he could also end up hurting his comrades in the process. Naruto took these words to heart, especially after the incident, one in which Naruto actually did almost hurt a comrade. It was the only thing that kept him from going full out against Orochimaru. He only limited himself to using the Two Tails cloak, but even still, with that amp of power, combined with his morphed ability, it was more than enough to push the Snake Sannin. As for Cam, the Green Samurai Ranger, his anger was felt through his blade, the swiftness and the movement behind it. These were not the movements of a rookie, but they were ones of someone trained to kill. Orochimaru could feel the bloodlust in every swing of his blade. He knew that if he made one mistake, this boy would have his life. Orochimaru bowed the two of them fiercely, doing his absolute damnedest to try to stop and hold them down. It was more than what he was expecting. So much so to the point that he had to use more of an offensive style, Orochimaru using more of his powerful techniques against the both of them. Eventually, though, Orochimaru knew that he would need backup, but he would be foolish to call in Kabuto. While he recognized Kabuto in his strength, if he got involved, he would die. With no choice, Orochimaru would signal using a flare. It shot high above into the sky itself. Both Kakashi and Sakura had no idea what that flare meant, but Kabuto knew what it meant all too well. He couldn't believe it. Orochimaru was summoning him? Did he really think he couldn't stand on his own? As they watched on, both Naruto and Cam continuing to fight, Orochimaru would even attempt to summon a large snake, using it to try to devour the two. However, both Naruto and Cam would easily slice its head off. Orochimaru would then summon a horde of snakes at once. However, Naruto would use the wind-style wind-air bullet, and Cam would use a regular fireball jutsu, a standard, but the two combination jutsus would create a scorching inferno that would burn all of the snakes at once, even Orochimaru to a degree, who had already had to change bodies 3 times in the course of this fight. As it continued, Orochimaru felt as though he were being worn down. He couldn't believe the amount of power that they possessed. He felt as though it might have been the end for him, if not for an image of black moving out of nowhere. As Naruto brought down his sword, it would be met by another. And as the one looked up towards him, Naruto would see that standing before him was a black Ninja Storm Ranger. Both Naruto and Ken would be shocked as they regrouped together. But as they looked at the Black Ranger, even through the darkness of his visor, Naruto felt as though he knew who was standing before him, as he could feel 2 piercing red eyes glaring towards him. Orochimaru then smiled, as he noted this was the culmination of his research. Cam remembered when his parents were killed almost 4 years ago, that Orochimaru stole something for them. While it was true that there were 6 Rangers originally, the Morphers had already been transferred to the Land of Iron, where they could be kept in storage. There was a 7th that was created, a prototype if you will. It was supposed to be kept under lock and key. That was the reason why Cam and his family was making sure it was escorted safely back to the Land of Iron. However, it was at that point in time when Orochimaru attacked them and stole the prototype for himself. But this begged the question, if Orochimaru had access to this type of power, why didn't he use it himself? Why did he give it to Sasuke Uchiha? Well, the answer really wasn't all that complicated. You see, for all of the power that Orochimaru had, when it came to strength, there was more to it than just raw power. It was compatibility that mattered. And ultimately, Orochimaru was not compatible enough with the Morpher. He had switched from body to body, but the vessel that he had now just wasn't strong enough for it. So instead, he decided he would find one that was. He had tried with many. Even Kimimaro was not powerful enough to bond. But Sasuke Uchiha was. He was able to bond with the Morpher, and when he did so, he transformed into the Black Ninja Storm Ranger. Once it was shown that he was compatible, Orochimaru took to training Sasuke to make him as strong as he possibly could be, so that when he did take his body, he would have a suitable host that already unlocked the power for him. As Naruto would now engage in a battle with Sasuke Uchiha, the two of them having met for the first time since their battle in the Valley of the End, Sasuke would be surprised to see that Naruto had power similar to his. It was almost ironic, just when he thought that he had finally gone truly ahead, that he had finally been able to push the gap between them, Naruto had seemingly closed it. As the red and the black Ninja Storm Ranger battled, Cam focused his attention on Orochimaru. Orochimaru having a better time of dealing with him, at least now that it was a one-on-one fight. However, Cam was not easily dissuaded, and in fact, being able to focus all of his attention on Orochimaru, it actually made him more excited. As the battle continued between the two of them, before long, it seemed as though this four-way deadlock was never going to come to an end. With help from Sasuke, Orochimaru would summon Manda to his side at once. However, Cam would counter with a summoning of his own. As he slammed his hand to the ground, he summoned the Samurai Star Chopper. From out of nowhere, a mechanized green eagle-like helicopter machine would come flying into the air. As Cam jumped inside, he morphed into its Megazord form. The giant green robotic monstrosity, standing at the ready, using its own large sword, engaged with Manda the snake summoning, battling and holding it in place. Sasuke had never seen anything like this. He wasn't sure how they could counter something of this size and magnitude. He didn't think there was any way possible. As they continued onward, with Cam now manhandling Manda, the snake summoning, Naruto would move to Sasuke once more. He would tell Sasuke that it didn't have to be this way. He didn't have to work with Orochimaru. He could come back to Konoha and they could work together again. Sasuke was about to rebuke this idea, when suddenly out of nowhere, a rain of clay-like beings would start to fall, causing massive explosions on both sides, until eventually a large clay-like dragon would come swooping in. It hit the Megazord in the center of its chest, causing a large explosion and causing it to fall to the ground. Manda was blown away as well. As both Kabuto and Orochimaru looked up, they saw the one riding on a clay dragon was none other than Deidara of the Akatsuki. Sasuke tried to figure out what was going on. He asked Orochimaru what was the meaning of this. However, before anything else could be said, another explosion would occur, knocking everyone away. As Deidara jumped down, standing before Orochimaru wondering if this were actually a trap by the Akatsuki, Deidara looked at him menacingly as he spoke. "Don't get it twisted, Orochimaru. Under normal circumstances, the only thing I'd want to do is kill you. But things have changed, and now we have a proposition. I need you to come with me immediately." "A proposition, you say? So, the group requires my assistance." "The situation has changed, Orochimaru. We're willing to look past your transgressions, but only if you come with me right now. We don't have much time before they make a comeback." Orochimaru looked to Sasuke in Kabuto. Sasuke thought about it for a moment before he would launch an attack towards Deidara. Deidara moving away at the last moment as Orochimaru jumped with him. They would swoop in and pick up Kabuto also as they flew off. Orochimaru was angered. He thought that he had control over Sasuke. However, it wasn't as simple as he originally thought. Both Kakashi and Sakura would move in at once. As the Black Ninja Storm Ranger would demorph, they would see that it was Sasuke Uchiha. Both Kakashi and Sakura would be shocked to see this. They asked Sasuke what was going on, and how he had the same powers as Naruto. However, before Sasuke explained anything, he wanted answers first, from Naruto and Cam. He wanted to know what was going on. What were these powers? How did Orochimaru get his hands on them? And who was that guy dressed in a similar cloak to Itachi? Cam and Naruto, along with Kakashi for assistance, would try to explain the situation on all of their ends. Cam told of the legend of the 6 Rangers, the ones who saved the world from a great evil with the first Hokage years ago, and that now the time had come for the Rangers to be summoned again, to fight some evil calamity that was going to come in the future, although they had no idea from what or from where. And then there was the matter of Orochimaru, who had managed to steal the technology that was used to create these powers, and created something of his own, and that was Sasuke and his morpher. They would also explain the Akatsuki and what they were after, telling of how they had only just saved Gaara from the Akatsuki less than 10 days ago, and that in all likelihood Orochimaru was going to be working back with them once more, if they saved him in the process. For Sasuke, this was a lot to take in. The Akatsuki, Power Rangers, this great ancient prophecy, it all sounded too good to be true, but yet it made the most sense. As Cam looked towards Sasuke, he asked whose side he was truly on. Did he really want to work with the likes of Orochimaru and the Akatsuki, knowing everything they had done? Did he really believe that they could offer him the power that he was searching for? Sasuke noted that he never intended to work with Orochimaru. He only planned to use him for his power, before eventually killing him. He only wanted to get strong enough to defeat Itachi Uchiha. However, Naruto would remark that if they worked together, they could achieve that goal. Naruto didn't want to deny Sasuke his vengeance. If avenging his clan was something that he needed to do, then he wasn't against that. But it was how he was going about doing it. He didn't have to work with criminals like Orochimaru or the Akatsuki to achieve his goals. They would back him up willingly. Now he was a ranger too. Sure, the prophecy only said for 6, but what was wrong with having one more ranger by their side? Cam would offer his hand to Sasuke. He told him that if he was willing to stand with the Rangers and fight against the great evil, to help save this world, then the Rangers would stand with him. And if stopping someone like Itachi Uchiha was what he wanted to do, he would have his support. Sasuke thought this over for a moment. This could lead him to getting what he wanted. The Akatsuki were after the Jinchuriki, meaning that in all likelihood, his brother would come for Naruto again. And when he did, that would give him the best chance to face him. After thinking it over, Sasuke would agree. However, before leaving, he would tell them that Orochimaru's bases weren't too far from here, and that if they wanted, they could check them out, as there were prisoners there who needed to be freed. They would agree and go to the various bases, freeing the prisoners and those who were held captive. They were grateful to be freed from Orochimaru's twisted experiments as they returned back to their homelands. Among those found, they would meet Karin Uzumaki. Karin had met Sasuke a few times, and she was happy to see him again. But what truly piqued their interest was Naruto, especially when Sasuke revealed that Naruto was also a Uzumaki like her. She questioned if this was actually true, granted that he had yellow hair and not red like hers. However, Naruto explained that he really was a Uzumaki, that was his last name. And Kakashi would confirm, without revealing too much, that Naruto indeed did come from the Uzumaki lineage. It was just from one half of the family. So Naruto probably inherited his hair from another side. For Karin, this made sense enough, and she was actually happy. She never thought she would meet another Uzumaki again. And when she learned of Lady Tsunade from Kakashi and her lineage being tied back to the Uzumaki also being the granddaughter of a Uzumaki, then that made her all the more happy. And she wanted to go wherever Sasuke was anyway, so returning back to Konoha was a no-brainer. They would also free a boy named Suigetsu, who was thankful for being allowed to be freed from his captivity. As he met with Sasuke and the others, he would learn that Naruto and his team had actually fought against his master Zabuza long ago. He would ask what happened to the Executioner's blade, and they would explain that it was back in the Land of Waves. As they freed a few more prisons though, there was one prisoner that they were surprised they didn't find. One named Jugo. He seemingly had escaped from his cage, and they had no idea where he had gone. But with the bases raided and with nowhere else to go, the team would make their way back to the Hidden Leaf, Karin and Suigetsu accompanying them respectively. Naruto would send out word to Chojuro, the Navy Thunder Ranger, back in the Hidden Mist, telling him of what had happened. Once Chojuro got the message, he would make his way back to Konoha. That way he could pick up Suigetsu, and he would also thank them for saving him in the process. Suigetsu was surprised, as he didn't think he'd be meeting Chojuro again, a fellow member of the Swordsmen of the Mist. However, before long, as they made their way back to the Hidden Leaf, Chojuro would arrive and pick up Suigetsu. Before going back to the Mist though, they would stop by the Land of Waves to pick up the Executioner's blade, Suigetsu deciding that he would take up the mantle as well. Both he and Chojuro were the only members of the Swordsmen of the Mist at the moment, and there was still another sword out there, Kisame Hoshigaki with Samehada. But the two of them agreed that they would bring down Kisame in their own way when the time came. Meanwhile, Sasuke would meet back with Lady Tsunade. He explained his situation as well as his morpher. After telling his full story, Tsunade would spare Sasuke since he hadn't committed any crimes, although he would be placed on probation, and Kakashi would watch over him carefully, making sure he didn't pull a stunt like this again. But they were thankful to have him back in the Hidden Leaf Village, safe and sound. And now, with new power to aid them in their fight against the Akatsuki, it seemed as though they were going to have even stronger chances. And she also offered him the opportunity that when the time came to bring in or defeat Itachi Uchiha, she would allow Sasuke to be on that mission, knowing that it meant the world to him. In the meantime, Orochimaru, along with Kabuto and a freed Jugo, would be brought to a private location in the Rain Village. As they arrived, they would be surrounded by other members of the Akatsuki, and standing before them would be the leader, the one known as Pain. Orochimaru asked what the meaning of this was. After everything they had been through, he assumed the Akatsuki wanted him dead. However, Pain would explain they suffered a great loss when they tried to capture the One-Tails. This group, Power Rangers, or whoever they were a serious threat to the Akatsuki and their goals. And as such, they needed all the help that they could get. They were willing to look past Orochimaru's transgressions if he would join them once again and pledge his allegiance to the Akatsuki. And in doing so, they would provide him with whatever he needed. Hearing this, Orochimaru would grin as he looked up to Pain. There was nothing better than rekindling an old friendship, and he was more than happy to accept the offer. Feeling like this was old times once again, as he donned the Akatsuki cloak once more, rejoining in their ranks. The Akatsuki were now ready to make their counter-strike, not just to hunt down the Jinchuriki, but to defeat their now primary adversaries, the Power Rangers. This concludes Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Part 2. If you are a fan of today's video and everything else that we have on the channel, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we are going to be continuing Fire Force Lightspeed Rescue Part 2. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.